going on, YouTube? This is the very first aired episode of the Weekend Media Podcast. This is episode number 6 already, so hop over to Spotify, subscribe to it there, because we drop new episodes every single Monday. And we're going to start backfilling the old episodes right here onto YouTube and dropping all new episodes here. They'll be dropping every Thursday after the podcast. What is going on, and welcome back to, I think we're on like episode 6 now of the podcast. Welcome to Weekend Media Podcast. I am Jordan Wheeler. This is Brian Garcia, Tirado. We are here together in the flesh. This is also the first time this has happened.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah. Holy crap. Everything's always been virtual.
Exactly.
That's good. That's good.
This is awesome.
That's awesome.
Not only are we together for the first time, but we're actually here trackside at Lonestar Rally Cross here in Maxwell, Texas. The last event of the season.
Yep.
Man, I won. It was a 2-day event. I won yesterday.
Okay.
Today's competition is tight.
Yeah.
I saw some 51 seconds out there. My best is a 53. They have a little bit of buffer, thankfully, because they hit some cones.
Yep.
So coming in the afternoon, it's going to be a work. But, dude, yesterday you had night drifting.
Yeah, I'm smoked from yesterday. Okay, so yesterday started off at 2 p.m., right? All the way into night drifting, so until 10 p.m. I think we made it until about 8, and I was just like, man, I'm cooked. Like, this is the most amount of seat time I've ever gotten in anything, autocross, because you can go as much as you want. There's no, hey, it's lunchtime. There's none of that. You just keep going. And by the end of it, I was pretty tired. But seeing this out here, I'll tell you what, competition always gets me excited. Even seeing you being like, yeah, like they're catching up to me. I need to stay ahead. I'm like, man, I missed the competition aspect of it. But drifting was great yesterday. We had a great time.
Yeah, and one thing I like too is like you're advancing so much. From the first time I watched this dude go out there, or the first phone call I got from you, like, man, I'm out here, I'm struggling, I'm not linking. This dude's lighting the tires on fire, spilling that milk out the back, letting her rip, son.
Yeah, yesterday, dude, I don't know what happened. It was like my first, I think I just finally got comfortable with how a drift event is ran per se, right? And I got to the point yesterday where I was like, you know what, I'm actually not gonna film any of this. I'm just going out there and drive the car. And my very first time out on the figure 8, like, it was like magic, bro. Yeah. I went out there and I was like, oh, 1, oh, hold up, 2. I was like, what's going on? All of a sudden it just clicked, dude. And then it was just learning to time everything, making it to the point where I can say like, hey, when I do this, the car will do what I want it to do. I'm still kind of struggling with my timing here and there. And then the rest of the day, I kind of just got worse and worse. And then I took that break, and then you showed up from finishing Rallycross, and then you saw me start like just consistent, they're big figure 8s, they're not small. And I told you again, I was like, yeah, I don't know where that came from, but I guess just starting to click more and more. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I think what I'd seen from your previous events is you had the basics down. Like you understood how to initiate, and you understood left foot brake, and you understood the balance, but you understood them individually.
Right.
And now you've tested each one of those, and you're like, oh, if I do this, this happens. Okay, now let me connect it with this. Okay, those 2 worked. Let me connect all 3 of them. And it's really starting to work, dude, and you've got really fast progression, which is good. And 2, it was night drifting. Okay.
Dude, okay, once the sun went down, you know, I got those Jeep headlights as fog lights. I was like, oh, I'll be fine because they're wired to the high beam. So I turned the fog lights on and I go out there. It is so dark out there. And then when you're going sideways, right? I was like, yo, where am I? I was like, I have no idea. So the first one I went like way off track, and I had Jose with me. And then I said, bro, let's just have some fun. Towards the end of the night, we put some music on, some drift funk, and I was blasting it, dude. And then I learned a new skill, and it was the handbrake. In fact, I barely used the handbrake. I always clutch kick. And I started to use the handbrake a lot because when I would look up, because it was so dark and my windshield was tinted, I would be like, oh, handbrake. Dude, all of a sudden, like, the handbrake clicked, like, just that quick jab. Yeah. And I told Jose, because we were just doing around the whole track. And Jose was like, dude, that was really good. I was like, something just clicked where I just learned how to make small corrections with the handbrake and stay in it. And the car just was doing everything I wanted to do. You see, I'm excited now, right?
And I'm reliving it.
And then I came out of the track and I looked at Jose and I was like, bro, I've never done that. I was like, let's just go again. Let's run it back, man. And he was like, you don't normally drive like that? I was like, no. I was like, I just started just jabbing the handbrake, a little left foot brake. I was like, and the car was doing everything I wanted it to do. Now it's like, okay, I got to go back and think about all that stuff. And next time I go back out, how can I apply a little handbrake and just make everything more controlled? So
yeah, and we talked about this multiple times last night. The Mustang is not an easy car to drift. At least when you start with the S197 and work up from there. Just due to the size of it, you're dealing with a solid rear axle. And we saw somebody hop in Isaac's car that is an experienced drifter, is so good, that got in his S197 and was struggling.
Yeah.
It's different. And I said it to you on the spot, that lets you know how good someone like James Dean is, that he got into a Mustang for a season and second season goes out and wins the championship. But it's like, look how long it took Chelsea to get to that point. It's a work with those cars. So you didn't start with the easiest platform in the world, and now you're doing great, dude.
I know. I was that point last night when we saw him just again whipping it. I was in the car and I looked at you, like it clicked. I was like, he's a really good driver. He's a really good drifter. He's out there just getting it, man. And to see him struggle on a figure 8 with the Mustang, I can't, I'm gonna lie, man, my ego got boosted up. I was like, hey, bro, I'm doing figure 8s, dog. Like, you know what I mean? And the other thing I changed too was normally, because it's like a 3-pot figure 8 for those of you guys who don't go to Dreamers of Drift. So it's like 3 big circles. You can run it multiple different ways. I would always come at it straight and then just hit that first right. And then you saw I changed it where I'd go to the second circle.
Yeah.
I'd get speed and I would just handbrake initiate.
Yep.
And again, that's a whole new skill. Right in the beginning, I want to say my first couple events. Oh yeah, this is only my third one. My first 2, when I was messing with the handbrake, bro, I'd grab that sucker and just drag it. Like,
yeah.
I'd be like, is that it? Now to the point where it's just a quick whoop, whoop, jab right back on the gas, and the car's doing what I want it to do.
It's more flowy for you, and you can see that too. And it's those organic movements really translate to that car because you can't force it. You just gotta. You got to rely on it, trust it, and just ride that process. You know? It's a big, heavy car. You're transferring a lot of weight into it. I mean, to me, the 550s made it a little bit easier when they went to independent rear suspension, but it's still a lot of weight that you're chucking with those cars. And then when you go into something like
rewarding, though.
Yes, when you go into something like the later S197s or even the S550s, then you add the complications of the electric steering, which was another thing that we saw the person that went out in Isaac's car kind of struggling with, because it's not the same as going out there with the hydraulic. So big difference, but you're doing great. It's cool to see everybody out there. We were all together again. Yeah. Jose was there, Isaac was there. Isaac was going to be here today, but just hopping on a plane to go to El Salvador.
Yep.
And then Jose's got family stuff that is going on. So yeah, it's us out here at the last event of Lonestar Rally Cross, and it's going so good. Dude, yesterday I did well. I won my division, but there was areas where I knew I was kind of screwing up. Today I came out here and I was like, okay, you know what? Let's have some fun with it. They opened the track up. It's faster today.
It is fast, dude.
It's great.
Car looks good out there.
Yeah.
In fact, you'll see in the video footage I took earlier today, but I was like, I'm recording cars. I'm like, okay, cool. I got my flow down where the gimbal's following, right? Then you came around. No, you came out on that first one. You were the first car out. And I was like, yeah, this should be good. No, dude, you went past the camera and I was like, catch up. Because you're like out of frame, you know what I mean? I was like, and then I looked at it, I was like, that was really fast. Yeah. Because last time I was out here, you weren't going that fast.
Yeah, so the last time that you were out here with me was the very first weekend that I had ever done out here at the beginning of the year. Yeah. The car was brand new, still had its paper plates on.
And you didn't have any rallycross experience, right?
No, the most experience that I had was what we had done at Rally Ready with those cars they had there for the Red Bull event. Then we did some Broncos in the woods.
Okay, was that I don't know, like a perspective shift moment where you said, like, I got to do this?
Yeah, like 100%.
Was that after the Subarus?
Or after the Subarus,
You said, I got to do this?
Yes. I hopped in those Subarus, and I went out there, and I was trying to rotate the car like it was a drift car and trying to do this and trying to do that, and it wasn't working. And then I get out there, and I had remembered something I had saw from Ken Block where it was a little bit more left foot brake. And I tapped that, and it nose dove and dug in, and then it starts rotating. And then when that happened, I was like you with your drift car, when you had that moment where you're like, oh, that clicked. And so I slid it, and I absolutely loved it. And then I link that around, and I kick it back and go across the finish line. And just the speed you're getting there in the dirt, and just, it's a whole new style of control, because anytime you're racing, there's all kinds of variables, track temps, you know,
Oh yeah, that
your
was
tire
very
wear.
prevalent last night.
Yes, all of this stuff. When you're out here in the dirt, it changes after every single run. The same track that you hit is going to be different because you've gone over it. 5 other people have gone over it, 10 other people. So every time you go out there, it's a whole new experience. And it's not like you're going out there and you're doing, okay, what's the fastest lap you had of the entire weekend? All of these are accumulative. So every lap you have counts. So you don't have room for error unless somebody else screws up. So there's just...
Which I saw today.
Yeah, so you're riding that line, and I just loved it after I did this first event. But Rally Ready was really driving those Subarus made me say, dude, I got to do this.
That's crazy. I had a kind of, when I first jumped in, I had more of a, oh snap, this is kind of dangerous moment, not a, oh snap, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And do you remember like when you started going down, it was almost like it was like a 180.
Yeah.
Right at the end. I went in too hot.
Yeah, and they had that berm back there.
Bro.
Yeah.
I went in too hot. But I left foot braked, right? Yeah. And it did the same thing you're talking about, and I didn't go as fast coming back up.
Yeah.
Because in the dirt, you know, I'm turning and the car's not turning.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, dude, I messed up, right? But the car turned.
Yeah.
Right. And then I kind of was like, all right, this is not my forte. I'm used to, you know, asphalt. But it also kind of gave me like, well, there's so much in driving that I need to learn.
Yeah.
In drifting and gravel and pickup truck, tour off road. But yeah, I didn't get that same like come to Jesus moment. I had to like, oh, chill out, brother.
Well, I like it too because I think it's a great assembly of all the other stuff that I've done. Because we're right here with Rallycross, we're out here on a track essentially. All right.
Yep.
And then you got the cones, which is a little bit of autocross into it.
Right.
And then learning to balance that slide is the drifting aspect of it. So it's got all that stuff that I've done before, and now bringing them all together. And like I keep saying to you, cost difference. How much did you spend, if you looked at how much you had to spend for last night, how much would you say that night cost?
In total of entry, fuel, food, and tires?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't even account for the 2 tires that I did use. Yeah, it's close to $500.
Okay, so I came out here. It cost me, I put $13 worth of gas in the car to get here, and then $60 for entry for the day, and then we're gonna go get food, and that's it. Yeah. And I'm gonna drive the exact same car home. I've trailered it here before, you know, you can do that, but you don't have to. And then that's my cost.
Yeah, let's not.
I'll be under $200 with buying food for everybody.
Ashley, if you're listening to this, if you're not listening, then stop. Just stop. But yeah, it's true. I mean, when I did autocross, I think that was also the point that really got us excited was like it was $30.
Yeah.
$30 for spokes in Austin and $30 for Saska down in San Antonio, and you got to go both. And sometimes they would do combined events, and it was like huge, man. But it was $30, some food, some snacks, and we would always go to a restaurant if it was in San Antonio, Ashley and I, and the whole day would cost us, you know, under $100. So to get into drifting now, brother, I think I'm not realizing a lot of the costs because I've bought so many tires ahead of time.
Yeah.
Every time they go on sale, I'm like, purchase, right? So I'm saving money there. But yeah, when you just ask me, I'm like, yeah, the cost of the tires, about $500. That's a lot, man. Damn.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too that I think about is the atmospheres. So when I used to go drifting, depending on where you go, so everywhere
back
is
in the
different.
1950s. Keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Back when we first learned how to use a steering wheel. No, but I know Dreamers of Drift, you guys seem to be a good mesh of people there. But in drifting, depending on where you go or which ones, some of these things can be clicky, and they can also be intimidating. You go to some of these autocrosses, you know, there's some people that this is like what they do, and they feel like you're robbing their time because you're inexperienced or you don't know what you're doing, and maybe you shouldn't be here.
I was there.
You know, I've been to some track days where there's some people out there who are really, really experienced and just get frustrated that you're out there if you're not as fast as they are.
Your traffic is what they say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Since day one coming out here to Rallycross, everybody has been so welcoming. Everybody has been willing to help. Everybody supports everybody. And that's like what makes the car community so great. That's why we all get into cars. That's why we are all friends. You know, that it's that, and that all lives right here.
I think though, like, dude, I think you're gonna find those pockets of clicks everywhere.
You will,
because when Again, when I first went, I got lucky. When I went to my first autocross, the first person I met said, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Hi, I'm Brian." And it was, you can ask Ashley, same dude, man. And the same dude, when I went from the car was borderline stock to the wide body to Optima, search for the ultimate street car. The car's all liveried up. Like, I've been doing stuff, right? I mean, it got to the point where the years have gone by and the same guy always haggled me. Always, "What are you doing here?" Or he'd be running the window. I give my ID, and he said, car. I'd say, SRT8 09 Dodge Challenger. He'd say, "Why?" Like, yeah, he was serious. Like, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
Towards the very end, he came up to my car. He was running grid, and he leaned in my window, and I was like, "Here we go." Like, it's coming. Like, I just prepare for it, right?
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey, man, I just want to let you know, I've been watching you, and you've gotten a lot better over the years. Good job."
Nice.
And I was like, "Damn, bro, it would have been nice to lead with that." 6 years ago, right? And I mean, at one point, Ashley was with me, and he would come up to my car and go up to Ashley in the passenger window and say, "If you want to ride with somebody real fast, you can ride with me."
Oh, man.
Brother. And Ashley would go like, "No, I'm good." She's like, I'm a Mopar girl. Like, she would just lean into like supporting me no matter what it was.
Yeah.
If I drove a Pinto, she'd be like, "No, I'm a Pinto girl, bro." Like, I don't do that, right? And he'd be like, "All right." And then one time, he was like, "Hey, the seat's warm and ready for you." Like, he was just trying so hard. I was like, "Bro, I could one swift fist and I'll kill the guy."
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, "What are you doing, dude?" But I just always kept it cool, and I, kept it neutral. And I was kind of scared of finding those pockets of people in drifting.
Yeah.
Right? So when I first went out, dude, I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous. People are judgmental as hell. And then I just said, "You know what, man? Forget them."
Yeah.
like I've done this before, and then it just takes time and progression, and then you earn the respect from the local heroes, whatever you want to call them. But I'm glad you found a nice home here, because that can be debilitating when you're trying to get into a sport.
Yes.
So
Yeah. It helps too when you come out the box and you're just great.
just the shit.
You're just fucking awesome.
Well, okay, here's what happened yesterday, right? So I like to build cars and trucks, man. Like, before the Challenger, there was like 3 other cars I did, right? It's a hobby too. It's a peace of mind. It's just something I enjoyed doing. I do it with my dad, right? So when I did the Mustang, like, I was like, I want it to look cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love the drift liveries. I love all that stuff. So at this last event, dude, people were coming up being like, "Yo, dog, what can I do to get a ride?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you don't want to ride with me? You don't want to ride with me, dude? I'm no good." Like, I'm honestly, this is my 3rd event ever.
Yeah.
Not just with this car, ever. Like, I'm still learning. And I got to a point where I asked a guy, I was like, "All right, why are you picking me?" And he's like, "Bro, your car looks so good."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "All right, that's fair." Yeah, I'm not the best man. I was like, if you want a really good ride, you want to ride with this guy, which is Isaac.
Yeah.
Right? He's got seat time behind the Mustang.
Your pit was busy the whole time I was there. I was only there for maybe 3 hours, but there was always people hanging around, people trying to figure out a way to ask for a ride. But that's part of it too, is like, we don't just approach it like we're out there to have fun, which we are. We also approach this like we take it very seriously. Like, this is our life. This is a business to us as well.
It is, yeah.
And we've found a way to make it fun. So that's a lot of it. So when you show up and you got the tent, you got the car that's well put together, it gives that vibe that makes it more welcoming, versus, and this is not a knock on anybody, but like when you're walking the pits, you'll see people hanging out with their friends, as they should, as they're there for, It's a circle there hanging out around the vehicles, and sometimes that can be intimidating for people. But you put it into a way that it's just so open that makes people want to come up and kind of really be a part of it and see what's going on. So
yeah, and it was really cool. I mean, people came up and they asked a ton of questions, about the car, about the setup, and the thing that blew them away every time was, I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's stock." And I'm like, no, what's under the engine? I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely nothing. The intake is stock. It's got a K&N drop-in air filter. That's it, dude. It's got a bigger radiator because of this Texas heat." I was like, "But no, it's stock. Like, you can do this."
That is another thing that we've talked about multiple times. Is people feel like you have to have so much invested into this vehicle to be able to do this. Now, you do if you're going to be competing at like an FD level. But if you're out there just to slide and you're having fun, like, you don't need that. It's overkill. And if you have that, the majority of the people who are out there don't. So then that's almost a hindrance on you drifting, because you got a far faster car.
Yeah.
And the whole time, all you're doing is trying to slow yourself down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that was the It was cool, man. It was freaking, yeah, it was busy all day, like in our area. It was just nonstop.
Yeah.
And one guy said, like, hey, I really don't care, man. Like, I just want to ride in the car. And I was like, all right. And then he got in the seat. He's like, man, this seat is comfy. What is this? And I'm like, they're status racing seats. You know, you can put your logo, you can put whatever you want on it. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah. And we go do some figure eights, and I'm kind of sucking. And he's like, no, man, you're good, man. I believe in you. He's hyping me up the whole time. I'm like, man, I appreciate you. He was like 19 or 20.
Yeah.
And I see the big track. I'm like, you know what? Whatever, I'm just going to the big track. And he looks at me, he's like, what are you doing? I was like, yeah, we're going over there. And he kind of looked like a dog, like, you barely did this, you know? And I'm like, no, like, we're just going to have fun, man. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do a sight lap. And then he's kind of coaching me because he's already been on the big track a couple times. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not initiating at 60 miles an hour like all the other guys. Like, I'm just going to take it, you know, one corner at a time. And turn one, I didn't initiation. Turn two, I was like, nah, man, I got this. And I just clutch kicked and went. And we were going, and he just started, like, screaming. I got the second turn, and then, yeah, going this way, I was like, yo, where's the track? Because it literally goes, like, downhill, and then it goes, like, back uphill, right? And I'm like, you know, transition the other way, and I got lost. And I just pulled the handbrake, and we went straight off the course. And I'm like, oh, there's the track. And the dude's like, go again, go again. I was like, you want to go again? I'm like, okay, we'll go again. At that point, he was just having the time of his life.
Dude, it's been a great year. Looking back on 2024, this is a year where we've all really gotten out and done media together. This is our first full year doing all this stuff together. It's been
crazy year, dude.
It's been a wild ride. Everything has been so busy. You've made the transition to doing media full time. I mean, we've had an event every single month. It's almost, it seems like there's almost something going on every single weekend.
Dude, yeah.
Between what you're doing with social media, what I'm doing with RTR, what Isaac and all of us are doing with our racing programs, that it's just been wild to know that it's now just, we got 1 week left. And it's
just crazy.
It's insane.
It's insane to go like, hey, 1 year ago, we're like, hey guys, we're going to do this. Like, you know, first event, we're out here in the, hey, it was so cold, man. I still remember my fingers couldn't function. You know, we're videotaping, doing the thing. And then, you know, to the leap, you know, of me saying like, I want to do this for myself full time with almost zero North Star. like kind of like, I just know that I don't want to do this anymore. I just know I need to try something else. Stay true to myself, really. And now 6 months have gone by since that day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, 6 months ago, dude, I was shaking in my boots, dog. Like, I was like, this is not, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And actually saying you can do this too. I mean, today, like, I'm so comfortable where I'm at. Like, in life, in media. I just spoke to a guy on track.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, hey, is that a Sony cam? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, what do you drive? I was like, oh, no, I'm not driving. And he's like, do you do media? And I was like, yeah. I was like, you know, I've started with this camera, and I pulled out the Osmo.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, now I just use this. I'm just saying, you got to try it. You know, it's a lot easy. It's really easy to use. And he started asking me all these questions, and I started telling him kind of like, yeah, well, you know, I did this. And then he's like, what'd you do after that? Oh, I did this. What'd you do after that? No. Oh, I did this. Because he was like, why are you here? I was like, oh, I'm videoing for Jordan. And he's like, oh, who's that? I'm like, oh, he's a buddy of mine. He's got the Corolla. Oh, okay. And then he started asking all these questions. And I was telling him like, yeah, bro, like, I quit my job. I said it so confident, right? And I was like, it hasn't been easy, but you know, here I am a year later since we started this, 6 months later. It just feels good to be where we're at.
Yeah.
And I told him, because he asked me like, well, how do you make money? That question always comes up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, I sold a bunch of stuff. And I knew I was making the leap a year in advance.
Yeah.
And I just saved a lot of money up to that point. And he's like, well, how much does like social media pay? What about the views? And I was like, dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really kill myself on the views. I don't attach my value or self-worth to that I get 1,000 views or 2,000 views. I said, and one other thing is like my YouTube videos, like when my son's old enough to log into YouTube and he can watch the video from the first one to what's going on present day, they're like little movies, man.
Yeah.
So like, to me, that's also kind of an important aspect of me making the videos despite the views.
You know, we talked about earlier, you know, Luis is out here. My daughter Lauren is here from North Carolina.
You got the whole family.
Ethan's here. Ethan's girlfriend's here. My cousin Drew is here. And if anybody has watched any of the stuff that I've done with J-Dub Wrenching, back before that, it was called Grassroots Self-Service Garage. The very first video that was done.
That's still a good name.
Huh?
That's still a good name.
It is.
Grassroots Self-Service,
yeah.
That's good.
So if you look back at that very first video, he is in that video. So like, he's been there since the beginning to now this. And I mean, like, what we're doing today, we're having so much fun doing it. You know, it's it's not something that we're sitting here making a ton of money off of. We're not making any money off of.
Yeah,
but
actually none.
But you know, it's building that experience to be able to take this and say, what can we do with it? You know, and we're enjoying life and we're making it. You know, I have done 12 Rallycross events in total.
God.
Yeah, 12 Rallycross events in total. Out of those, 11 of them have been scored, and I podiumed in all 11 of them. That's not saying that that's something that's going to happen every single time. It's been a combination of luck and skill. But
someone's going to watch this and say, I'm coming after that ass.
Yeah, absolutely, and I hope so.
Dude.
But it's fun. And then you look at how many drift events, that not just drift events you've done, but events you've done in general. I mean, you've been out to SEMA, you've Dreamers of Drift, you've been out to all of this stuff this year.
Yeah.
And just this year, from us saying this is something that we wanted to do. Isaac has been all over the country. I look at somebody like Jose. Jose, when he joined with us, this was just, you brought him in and said, here's the idea, here's the plan, and to him, he was excited about it. It was just the thought of it. Now you talk to him now, it's wild to see not just his progression with his social media, but everything he's done and everywhere he's been since he's joined up with us. And it's just a solid group of friends that have motivated each other to do this. And that's what it takes, and it takes the determination, because it's not easy to keep doing this.
No,
it's very much not easy to keep doing this.
Last night was, I told you, I had family coming in, right?
Yeah.
Is that a boxer?
Yeah.
Okay. I had family coming in, right? So they flew in at, they got into Austin at 10 p.m. My parents went and got them. By the time we finished media dumping, I looked at Jose. I was like, "Do you need a coffee?" He's like, "Yes." So I grabbed a spare Yeti that I had, and I was like, "Here's the creamer, here's the sugar. You know, do your thing." He's like, "Oh, do you have a to-go cup?" I was like, "Dog, just take it." So you look at the time; it's like 10:30, 10:40 at night, and he's about to drive another hour and change to San Antonio.
Yeah.
Like, it's not easy. Not to mention, he had to wake up early to meet me at my house to drive my truck.
Yeah.
To take all my stuff.
Dude, I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning yesterday to drive up here to be on day one of the Rallycross. Then I drove 45 minutes to go to you guys to be there. And then I drove 3 hours home from that to bring everybody back up here again, 3 hours. But that's what you do.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm tired just thinking about it, dude.
Yeah, dude, I was so dead when I got home. But, you know, we got probably about 8 minutes before we got to be back out on track, so this is going to be shorter than our normal one. But again, thank you, dude, for showing up here today.
Well, of course, man. This has been a journey.
Thank you for being a part of everything that we've done this year. It's been fantastic. I can't wait until 2025. It's hard to think that we're planning for that already. We started talking about that like a month ago.
Yeah, there's already a lot of events planned. So
yeah, Rallycross. I want to try and do rally. I want to do tour, drifting. Yeah. We got so much. I'm going to try and do more track work next year. Just get out there with not just 550, but 650.
I need to buy a 650, dude.
Dude, my plan is the minute that RTR shows the world what's up with the new Spec 5, which is going to be amazing, hitting track with that thing. So, yeah. If you guys have enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe to this. As always, make sure to watch anything that this man has going on at Tirado Racing, both on Instagram and on YouTube. For me, you can do J-Dub Racing here on YouTube or J-Dub Wrenching. Weekend Media Podcast, make sure to subscribe to it wherever you are. Thank you guys. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
It's been a great 2024, and here's to 2025.
Here's to 2025, bro.
All right, see ya.
Let's do it.